everybody, it's Honest John again. The Civil Rights Movement had a lot of success. It had great leadership, not just Martin Luther King, but a lot of people who surrounded him, who are less well known, but were very effective and dedicated leaders. It also had the support of President Lyndon Johnson in the White House. And he knew how to get things done. He got civil rights legislation passed, and there was some degree of integration. And I guess a lot of people believe that the movement had also changed hearts and minds, and to some degree that was probably true. But the KKK, the neo-Nazis, the white supremacists, they didn't go away. They're still around, filled with ignorance and hatred. And they have been working on becoming part of the mainstream in America for years. This is not new. Matter of fact, they were mainstream once. A large swath of the Democratic Party, especially in the South, was openly racist. But as the Democrats moved left, Republicans moved right. And so the white supremacists aligned themselves with the GOP. And the conservative movement is now dominated by white supremacist thinking. Those hearts and minds, they never did change. They married, they had children, and they brought them up to be racist too. Just as Fred Trump, Ku Klux Klan member, brought his son up to be a racist. But they learned how to shape their message to, instead of using racial slurs and racial epithets, they began to reach out to white people who were feeling left behind, who were feeling aggrieved. And they were able to convince them that their problem was not the rich who are making decisions about them, but it is the immigrants and black people who are being put ahead of them, even though that's really not true. The Heritage Foundation, for example, is a mainstream Republican organization. And yet it is heavily populated with white supremacists. White supremacists are part of the fabric of society. They are plumbers, truckers, mechanics, and salesmen, but they are also lawyers and teachers and priests and ministers, elected officials, and law enforcement officers. They are a very important part of the Republican base, much too big for even those that don't agree with them and don't like them to ignore. The GOP knows that they can't do certain things, like immigration reform, because that would piss off their base. A GOP immigration law has to contain enough bigotry to keep their base happy. And now the white supremacists have a champion in the White House. A man who made no secret of his racism before and during his campaign and since he entered the Oval Office. So it's time for Americans to look in the mirror and admit that, at its core, America is a racist nation. Thanks for listening.